So welcome to the Recharging Chat. Dr. LuAnn and I were chatting about all things CellCore, and there's so much information. There's so many wonderful things to know about these products. And we thought, let's do a Zoom. Let's just bring in community for each other and support and love, really, is what this is all about. In an effort to have a nice little group where we have questions and we can share answers. And like I said earlier, so LuAnn doesn't have to repeat herself 100 times. It's all condensed here. So our format is to just start off with sort of a focus, a topic for the call. And we like to want to start with prayer, set the intention, and then we'll have a little bit of time for questions. And if you have any questions, you can just email those to the rechargingstation@gmail.com. And then hopefully we can layer those into the calls as we progress forward. Because it's, this is the first time that I think everyone's doing this cleanse, or the foundational or the comprehensive. And so I have lots of questions, and I have LuAnn at my disposal. So I can only imagine, how others are feeling. And so, and then after that, we'll do a little wrap up. So we're really glad that you're here. I'm selfishly grateful to be here because I get to see all of you and touch base and check in. But it's really a radical act that you're taking right now to keep yourself in pristine shape and to cleanse your body, especially in this day and age right now. So I feel very fortunate and blessed that these products exist, and they're really the cutting edge that's out there in the world for removing all kinds of invaders in the body, mind and spirit. So if that sounds good to everyone, we'll just start with prayer. Do you want to start? Do you want to pray, LuAnn?
No, you go ahead, since I'll be talking a lot.
Okay. All right. Heavenly Father, we're so grateful to be here in this container this evening. Ask that you bless each one of us with your mercy, with your grace, and for us to be patient and loving examples of who you are every day, in every space you put us in. Thank you so much for these gifts of the earth that you've given us to help clear our vibrations and to keep us aligned and centered as we navigate through this time in history. It's such an important thing to be clear and clean, and we're very grateful for that. And I ask that you just bless this time together and give LuAnn the voice of clarity. And thank you so much for this space and all your blessings. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Yeah, so I would love to ask so many questions. I've started voice memos where I've noticed different things occurring in my body for the past 6 months. I've been doing CellCore since March. I have collated photos, alarming photos in my phone. So I'm like documenting things, and that's how I operate. But I've really been blown away by how good I feel, and it's just so awesome. So I'm curious myself, and the main question I wanted to start off with this evening for Dr. Lu is, what makes this so different? What makes CellCore so unique from other cleanses or the binders they have? What makes them so special compared to other products? I mean, we know the gentlemen that created these products are incredible doctors, is Dr. Jade Davidson and Dr. Todd Watts, and they're pioneers in the field. But let's fill in the gaps a little bit about the specifics as to, what is it that makes them so effective and unique?
Okay. So Dr. Jay Davison and Dr. Todd, they are amazing human beings. Let's just start there. And so they brought their unique individual knowledge together and created CellCore. So they are both chiropractors, and they were both helping a lot of very sick people, both very much into parasites, both very much into Lyme, a lot of the things that plague people today that often get, unknown. There's a lot of unknowns, or how to really get to the bottom of things. So when they got together and started CellCore in 2017, they really looked at what they were doing, all their research, what everyone else was doing. And they decided that what is needed is something different, because there's so many people that are sick and our world is so toxic. And there's so many things out there that are good, but there's a lot being missed. So what's unique about CellCore is that the premise that they've created is a new premise in wellness, where we hear a lot about functional medicine, we hear a lot about all the other different types of naturopathic and chiropractic and all of these other things that we're all used to seeing. But what they do is they do foundational medicine. And in foundational medicine is that it comes before all of that. Okay. So when you start from there, what you do is you remove all of the toxins that we have been exposed to. You're not just focusing on one specific thing. You're removing all the upstream sources that create all these different branches of things you might label as Lyme, or as this, or as that. From there, after you remove all of these toxins and you have the foundation set and clear, then you can move in toward and go in towards and move forward on more specific things, cleaning things up, as opposed to starting, like in functional medicine, we might say like, oh, there's leaky gut, or there's this issue, and we might dive right in and start working on that. And that's like diving into the middle of the alphabet. Like, it's diving on M, here's the problem, or there's this is missing. So we're going to start there. But you didn't go through A, B, C, D, E, and that's what CellCore does. Okay, we go into the foundation. And that really aligned with me, because being a chiropractor, I've always searched for what's happening, what's the best supplement right now, how can we improve? And being a chiropractor, fundamentally, the nervous system is very foundational as the operating system. So CellCore really vibed in alignment with me for that. And when I found out about what made all of their binders and all of their whole program different, was they have a special type of technology that they call carbon technology. Okay. Now, there are a lot of different types of humic and fulvic types of foundational devices that people use as far as pulling things out of the body. But the difference is that CellCore, their products are bioactive. So it's bioactive carbon. Okay. Bioactive is something that's alive. Now, most of your chelators or binders, that you've heard of in the past, as they are absorbed into the body, they go into the body as a charcoal, a dead material, right? There's no life force in it. So it's going in and it stays in the digestive tract. And these things bind to stuff and they pull it out, but they're only in the digestive tract. And when they're binding to stuff and pulling it out, they're not repairing things that get pulled away. Okay. So for instance, a bioactive carbon, they have hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen in the bioactive carbon, meaning when you put that in your body, that's what we're made of. We're carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen. So when you add these binders into the body, and it's not just the binders, the biotechnology is in all of the CellCore products except for the Para 1 and I believe the Para 2. So the carbon technology is integrated into all of the different forms that a lot of you are familiar with. So when that goes into the body and it forms a bond. Now there's two different types of bonds. There's a covalent bond and an ionic bond. By this, I mean the way that the chemical binds together. So if I was to form an ionic bond, it would be like us forming a handshake. If I was to form a covalent bond, it would be like, come on, we're going to lock arms and we're going to hold on tight. So when this forms bonds in your body and these things bind to the toxic substances, being it metals or pesticides or herbicides or microbes, whatever it is, it's going to form that covalent bond and it's going to pull it out of the body all the way through the digestive tract out through the feces, where most of the other chelations get pulled out through the urinary tract. The other thing that is special about this is when you are forming those bonds with the carbon and the hydrogen and oxygen that's in there, you're able to transfer a proton or an electron to wherever it needs to go, which is unique to CellCore. So it can change an ROS reaction. It can change something which is something that's going to oxidize and break down. When you destabilize an element in the body, and if there's not a balance in that, that can create other problems. It can create free radicals. But what happens is, because this is a charged substance, it's going to give an electron or a proton where it's needed. The other really neat thing about it is if it binds to something that the body needs, it's not going to pull it out. It knows that this is a mineral. It's not something that needs to be removed, and it's going to keep it there. So you're not just pulling stuff out, you're giving stuff to the body, you're pulling stuff out of the body, and you're repairing the body all at the same time. And that's very unique to CellCore, to the carbon technology. If you know anything about charcoal, you see like you start with wood, light on fire, and you burn down, and you're creating an energetic change, and you can feel the heat from that. And the heat feels good. But after it's all gone, right, it's changing form to ash. And that ash becomes the charcoal, which could be used to push stuff through, but there's no life for it. That carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen that was once in there creating that fire is now gone. So what CellCore does is they charge it up so it's present. So you're actually getting something that has a life force in it. Understand? Does anybody have any questions about that?
I mean, that makes sense because like in Bali, when you get Bali belly, they give you charcoal, but that's sort of a dead substance, right? And it doesn't have the intelligence, like you said, it just steamrolls through the system and wipes out kind of everything, right? And it can demineralize you. Is that a safe assumption?
Yeah, because it doesn't know the difference of what it's pulling out. It's going to bind to a lot of different things, right? The other thing was like people know a lot about chelation. So when you chelate, you go in, you grab, you destroy, and you pull out. And there's a lot of fulvic and humic acids that people use to do this type of stuff. But the difference is, like, when you're talking about a cell wall that you need to go through, there's a lot of different exchanges that take place through that cell wall. There's a lot of toxins blocking the cell wall. But what happens is, with these elements attached to it, when you're going to go in, uh, I'm going to just call it like an old school chelation, right? Or something like an activated charcoal to pull stuff. You're going to go, you're going to go through that cell wall almost like a tank. It's like it's destroying. When you're using this technology, it's like a spirit. It just, or like a ghost, it just goes through, does what it needs to do, and pulls it right back out. And there's not any damage, there's not collateral damage. It's healing as it's doing it, which is amazing, which is a miracle that they figured out how to take the humics and the fulvics that we've been using in other things for a long time and activate them. The other
Yeah.
thing that we focus on in CellCore is not just the foundational healing, but mitochondrial healing, right? Because we know that at the foundation of all our cells, 60 to 70 trillion cells, that's what we are. We're all a bag of cells walking around. And we have human cells and bacteria cells are like 1 to 1. So how does the body differentiate, and how does it stay in balance? Well, one thing that it needs is it needs mitochondria. So CellCore uses, well, a lot of what CellCore does is it focuses largely on the mitochondria function.
And is there anything else that's on the market that's similar to this, would you say?
No, there is nothing I found at all. And I've done so many different types of products, always looking, my own experience, always trying to, do the best I can for myself, do the best I could for my body. And kind of like, okay, I get to a plateau, I hit a wall. I'm like, why can't I get a little deeper? Why can't I just not quite hit this? This is the only thing that I found that has optimized me to the point where I am today. And I know that I'm just going to keep getting better and better and better with all of that.
And why do you say that? Because it's kind of like it's a sorry, I'm just getting a message. um so it's so gentle in the body, and it's replenishing what's being removed out in a nourishing way. You're being fed, and it's removing the invaders. But then after you've done the foundational cleanse or the comprehensive, then you can do a full moon when you want, or when you feel like you need to, right? Like, what's the aftercare, like, after like the 9 months or the 11th months or whatever?
Yeah, so after you go through the program, now the program is laid out with all of the research that they've done. Like, this is how it works the best, with going through one thing at a time systematically. What has to be removed from the body first, what's second, what's third, just prioritizing everything. And during that time, most of you on this Zoom tonight know about the full moon protocol. We do a full moon detox with the full moon, because that's when most of the parasites, or that's when all the parasites and the critters become active with the full moon. So the longer you do this, the deeper you can cleanse yourself with the full moon. But you do get to a point where you're like, okay, I'm not really getting as much out as I was before. So I'm going to stop doing this full moon monthly. Maybe I'll do it quarterly. Maybe I'll do it biannually. Maybe I'll do it annually. That is different for every person, depending on their life, the life they've lived, the life they live presently. So the other thing is that there are certain products that we use that you can continue to use to optimize your system. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. So you said there was a question. I'm not able to see it for some odd reason. So do you
Oh,
want to?
Emery, she wrote in a question to the recharging station. Let me see. Emery, are you here? Okay. Emery wants to know, as the critters are evicted and we are detoxing, does the process place an increased demand on the immune system? If so, are there any protocols that we should incorporate? So, Emery, that is a good question. So, as the critters are evicted and we're detoxing, now, as a reminder, if you're doing a comprehensive protocol, which is about 11 months, you do not start detoxing until about 5 or 6 months in. The rest of the time you're prepping and you're removing stuff. You're not really going into any detox yet. And during that time that you're removing parasites, we are working on increasing the immune system. So as you're taking mitochondria support, that is supporting your mitochondria, which is also supporting your immune system. As your load of toxins start to decline, like your parasites start to be removed, some of your plastics that might be in your system start to be removed. As this load starts getting less and the mitochondria start getting more, your immune system response is going to start balancing out. You have a Th1 and a Th2 immune response that will react differently to whatever it is that we come in contact with. So as you start to move through the protocol, your immune system is going to get fine-tuned. It's going to get stronger as we go through this. So are there any other protocols to incorporate? Well, we talked about the full moon. So that would be something that we incorporate into it. That's separate from the protocol. And as we remove more parasites during the full moon, and we keep removing toxins, our immune system will get better and better as well. I hope that answered your question, Anne-Marie.
She's not here. She jumped off, but she can check the recording.
She can check the recording. Yes.
So as far as the binders and them having the carbon technology in them, because that's really what's doing the removing, is that right?
Yeah, so the fulvic and the humic acid, those are the main ingredients to the binders. Oh, there's Anne-Marie. Marie, just missed your question.
No, I've been here the whole time.
Oh, okay, good. Did you hear that? Were you satisfied?
I did. Thank you. I did.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Sorry, ignore me.
So now the fulvic and the humic acid that are in the binders, yes, they're doing most of the removal. They're binding and they're removing the unwanted substances that are in the body, but also the para 1, the para 2, the para 3, the para 4, those are all working individually on different types of the thousands of different parasites that we can have. And the binders are going to help to bind to pull those out so they work in unison together. And then we have support supplements that go and help support all the organs as the stuff is being removed from the body. Other thing I don't think I mentioned when we were talking about the carbon technology is when this stuff is going into the cells and it's helping to heal and repair. A lot of people refer to something like a liposomal, somebody said a liposomal vitamin C. And liposomal is a good way to get stuff in the body. But the thing about a liposomal is That is, again, it's a fat, it's something that you're kind of disguising a substance with fat and something else, which could be different for every company that makes that liposomal. And then it's bringing it through the digestive tract so it can get through the stomach acid and it can go to wherever it needs to go, into the cells, into the small intestine, whatever the product is that's liposomal. But the thing, again, if you remember me talking about the cell wall and having to get in the cell, because it doesn't have that carbon, hydrogen, the carbon, hydrogen, oxygen binding and building capacity, again, it's going to be harder for it to go through the cell as opposed to going through easy, like I said, like that spirit. The other thing is that because it's liposomal, it's fat, and that has to go through the lymphatic system as well. So this is just an easier, more direct and more efficient way of getting the stuff actually to where it needs to go. And it's broken down into long chains, medium chains, and small chains. So when you're taking these binders and this carbon technology into your body, they're all designed to go to different areas, where most of the stuff that's out there today primarily stays in the digestive tract, and it's primarily long chain, where we have the small chain and then the medium chain, which are able to go even into the mitochondria and even into the DNA. So you have your DNA, and you have mitochondria, and then your mitochondria have their own DNA. And this is, so we're talking about the tiniest, like we can't even see it with our eyes. And this technology can get in there and do it at all levels, which is another thing that makes it very unique.
Awesome. That's really helpful to hear. I'm sitting here trying to frantically upgrade my Zoom so this meeting doesn't get cut off. It's saying we have less than a minute. So next time we won't have to cut it short, but I'm so sorry. It's just going to die on me. We can come back on if everybody wants to. What do you think, LuAnn?
Oh, it's been a half hour. I think we're good. We'll do another one. If anyone has any more questions, they can email the recharging station.
At gmail.com, right? And you can also
Yeah.
send parasite pictures too if you